Hi, I'm Mandy Walker, and you're watching My Divorce Pal, the divorce coaching program that helps you make the decisions that are best for you. This is the Is Divorce Right for Me track, and today we're talking about not wanting to hurt anyone. Keeping everyone happy is a tough job, and there's no getting around it. Divorce probably means that the people close to you are going to be unhappy at some point. One of my interviewees, Anka, told me that she realized in her early 30s that she'd spent her life trying to please others and putting their needs before her own. It hadn't worked out great since her first marriage had ended in divorce. She'd traced her behavior to her family of origin. They were immigrants, and since her parents didn't speak English, she was the eldest, and she took on the responsibility of translator and communicator for her parents and her siblings. She'd taken on the role of caretaker, and she carried that role through to her romantic relationships and her marriage. I'd like you to think back to when you were growing up. What were your responsibilities in your family home? Were you charged with caring for your siblings? Is this how you gained your parents' approval? Were there activities that you couldn't do because of your responsibilities at home? Another of my interviewees shared that she'd grown up in a high conflict home. Her mom and dad were forever arguing. Her reaction to that was to be as perfect as she could, so she wasn't the cause of any conflict. She was very uncomfortable handling disagreement. This is another example of looking to please other people and putting their needs first. One consequence of always putting other people's needs ahead of your own is that you may not even recognize your needs. And then, if you do know what they are, you feel guilty making them a priority. Or you even lack the confidence to speak up for yourself. You may think that whatever your reasons for considering ending your marriage, they're not important enough to upset your spouse or your children. My first strategy is to ask you to think about being on an airplane and the flight attendants giving their safety speech. You know, the one that most of us don't pay attention to. When they get to talking about the oxygen masks dropping, they always tell you to put your own mask on first before attempting to help others, including your children. Why? Because if you're struggling for breath, then you won't be able to help anyone else. The same applies to taking care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself to be able to take care of your loved ones. And it isn't being selfish. Carried to an extreme, it could become selfish. That's when you would expect everyone around you to make your needs their priority. But in moderation, it's healthy, and it gives you the energy for other people in your life. And I'd like you to look back over the last week and identify what you've been doing to take care of yourself and what you've been doing to take care of others. How do the two lists compare? Is the others list much longer than yours? I expect it is. So we want to change that balance a little bit. I'd like you to think about 2 things that you could do in the coming week that could make you feel that you were taking care of yourself. For people who are used to keeping other people happy, this can be a challenge. So I'm going to suggest that you start very small. For example, if you enjoy a cup of coffee in the morning, but what usually happens is that you pour it and then you have to pack the kids' lunches or clear away the breakfast dishes, and by the time you remember your coffee, it's cold. How could you change your routine so that you actually get to sit and drink your coffee? Could you get your kids and your spouse to clear away their own dishes? What if someone asks you to do something for them, and instead of jumping up right away, you say, I'll be able to do that in about 10 minutes when I've finished my coffee. I want you to look for ways that you could carve out 10 or 15 minutes twice a day and spend that time doing something that feeds your soul. Maybe it's listening to music, sitting outside, reading a book, playing a game, meditating, whatever it is that you enjoy and helps you relax. This is so that you start to get comfortable with recognizing that your needs are just as important as everyone else's. Use the worksheet to record how successful you are with making those 10 or 15 minutes devoted to you happen. And think about how it felt. Uncomfortable? Strange? Guilty? Peaceful? Fun? As you get comfortable, you can increase the time segments. So maybe you will have time to go to an exercise class or go to the movies one evening or have a drink with a friend. Now take a look at the list of things that you do to take care of the other people in your life. Is there anything that you're doing to keep them happy that you could stop? That they could meet you halfway? There's a fine line between taking care of someone and enabling their needs to avoid a disagreement or to keep the peace. A good example of this is meals. Another of my interviewees, Elizabeth, shared that towards the end of her marriage, she'd been on a particular diet. She was preparing one meal for herself and another meal for her husband. Then she thought that the food that she was preparing for herself was good and healthy, and there was no reason why her husband couldn't eat the same meal. So she stopped preparing 2 separate meals. Is there something on your others list that falls into this same category? What would it take for you to stop doing this? How your spouse reacts to you taking more care of yourself will be very telling for you. It may reinforce your concerns about your marriage, or it could be at the complete opposite end of the spectrum and give you some hope of reconciliation. Whatever happens, taking care of yourself and making your own needs a priority will put you in a much stronger position for handling the future, and ultimately it will give you a different perspective on hurting others. So let's recap. Talking about not wanting to hurt other people is often a sign of wanting to please other people and putting their needs before your own. Regardless of what happens to your marriage, recognizing your own needs is a vital life skill. When you take care of yourself, you're in a much stronger position to help others. Understanding why you put other people's needs before your own is a key to changing your behavior. So start by looking back at your childhood and what your role was in your family home. Next, list out everything you do to take care of others in a typical week and what you do to take care of yourself. How unbalanced is this list? In the next week, set aside 2 10-minute slots per day and do something that feeds your soul. Next, take a look at what you're doing to take care of others. What's there that you really could stop doing? These are activities that will help you embrace taking care of yourself, and that will help you decide if divorce is the right choice for you. I'm Mandy Walker. Thank you for watching My Divorce Pal. I'll see you next time.